All right, what's up, everybody? We're gonna be popping on here live in just a minute. And if you have any questions for Keegan and I, feel free to post below. And to the news feed, yep. Next. Here she comes. We're coming up. All right, title. Diaries from the IR with Keegan and Rob. With or without you. With or without you. All right, baby.
I'm coming.
And I'll wait for you. With or without you. With or without you, I can't live. Is it terrible?
I don't know. I refuse to listen.
I think it's pretty good. All right, we will mute that. The FCC gets us. All right, everybody, welcome and hello. Robert Linkle, Keegan Linkle, and will you send her up here, man? Why are you always off? Like, whenever we do our classes, it's like you're Billy Blank and I'm off on the. She's off on the side. Like, get in the
I'm
center
a good number two.
with me. You're
I'm
not a number two.
I'm
I
a
am number
supporter.
two. You are the number one. Now you're all up on my shit. Get off me.
Can't get it right. Oh, I still have my temperature check.
For the
From the
dentist today. She's a spiritual gangster. Isn't that dope? I love it. We're both rocking our new shirts. Anyhow, make sure that is off. How's everybody doing out there in Facebook world? This is one of our good. I hope somebody's laughing at me. This is one of our little sessions that we like to do called Diaries from the IR, the Injured Reserve. We have two very interested injured reserve individuals here. Had some very unique stories. Talked a lot last time about my hips. And today we're going to be talking to Mrs. Linkle mostly about her experience. I'm going to ask her to share her BRCA2 experience over the last 15 months or so, 18 months of this. It's been an experience with the surgeries, with COVID thrown in the middle of it, with family and kids and everything else, and then rehabilitating back to signing up for CIM yesterday, California International Marathon. So she's very motivated. I'm very excited as the coach to help on that side. And it's really neat to see that the cool part about how Keegan and I came together is that I was her coach, and we started our relationship in that way. And we've always had an opportunity to like keep that, though husband and wife and everything else out here, when we come into the weight room, it's like, tell me what to do, coach, right? We really have that working relationship well. And so it excites me as a strength coach to be able to come in and say, and take my athlete and say, you've got this limitation. You're going to have this surgery. We're going to have to rehabilitate. And then we're going to pursue this athletic, endeavor at the end of it. And it's neat on my end to be able to do a little bit of that part, but to help her, and achieve that. So enough of me, further ado, Mrs. Linkle, kind of take us through the last 18 months and let everybody know what you've gone through. And I'll ask some questions as we go along, but let's hear your story.
All right. I don't know my stories. My story is not nearly as in depth as Robert's story.
It's more.
Yeah, right. But I guess probably taking it back farther than 18 months ago is experiencing different family members getting cancer, passing away, being tested along their journey, and finding out that they carry the BRCA2 mutation. And so for those of you that aren't aware of what being BRCA2 or BRCA1 positive is that in our DNA, we have these cells that then protect our breast cancer cells as well as other cells throughout our body, but they're called the breast cancer cells, protect them from mutating. Well, that portion of my DNA that creates those cells that provide this barrier for us is mutated, so it doesn't protect the DNA like it's supposed to. So I get more mutations when creating those cells in the breast, in the ovaries, other areas, skin cancers, other cancers are also within that as well. So it increases your risk of getting throughout your life breast cancer up to about 85%. And I always forget about what the ovarian cancer was, but I feel like it was like 60.
I thought it was
30,
more.
60.
Okay.
No, I think it's less than the breast
Okay.
cancer one. So with that knowledge and seeing different family members pass away from this and seeing their journey and not wanting to impose that onto my children and having the knowledge now, like they didn't have the knowledge of being able to be tested proactively and then addressing it prior to the issue. And I have been given that gift. I have been given the knowledge to be able to do that. So we found out in like October, something like that, of 2019. And it was pretty much an easy decision. I think probably before we even left the building, left the room, whatever it was of the initial figuring it out, we already said, have the breast removed right now, and then we'll address whatever they recommend as far as the other things go later. So that decision was actually quite simple for me in that regard. I think that after the fact, you come across more mental aspects that make it challenging, not in like this weepy woe is me, my breast tissue's gone, because that I don't have that connection with them where I've lost my womanhood or anything like that. That does, I'm not, no heart, no emotion. So that part is completely not there. I don't have that at all. But other aspects of just dealing with, I guess maybe like appearances on some level, but even then you're like, does it really matter? Like I just go back and forth from this very logical brain to an emotional brain at different times. So that was really simple.
A lot of nights of her debating that. I could see it on her. We get like an hour together in bed without our kids. We try to go through and discuss our things through the day, and I could just see that every day. It was, one mindset. It's not that big of a deal. Let's do it. The next day, she's constantly kind of battling back and forth with her decision making on terms. And I was always like, whatever, this is you and your body, man. You make the decision. I got your back. But I could see her wrestling with it for a while. And I think
I think
coming
I always
up the last
knew
couple of months, like
I think I always knew the decision that needed to be made, and that I knew it was simple. But then the other side of me is this very much holistic healing. Our bodies are amazing, and that I believe so much in their healing power and being able to assist them and give them the tools they need to heal. And so I came from this position before knowing that I was positive in being like, I believe I can prevent cancer from entering my body. I 100% believed that. And then finding out you have this mutation, all of that kind of goes out the window to a certain extent, because even though I'm still being able to prevent it for a certain thing, the the warriors that I would have been boosting to do this are not there. And that is where all the efforts that I would be putting in to make sure I didn't get cancer that I believe in was thwarted by this mutation. So then I'm like, well, I still think that I could ward it off. So then it's like I'm still debating, and I'm like, why would you ever take that chance and leave your family's
86% or whatever it was is a very high.
Yeah, like why would you do that?
What if it was only 10%? Will we do it? Like that's still a high percentage.
Yeah, 10% is still,
So 80 plus or whatever.
It's like a very simple question. So anyways, long story short is that we said yes, let's get it done. We met our doctors; they're all fantastic.
Like first week in April or something.
It was like in April, and then 2 weeks prior out, they're like, we're canceling all elective surgeries, and I was
COVID,
like, elective?
Shut everything
this
down.
This is an elective? I'm saving my life. No. So they postponed it until June. They started redoing up things with June. They realized that they had enough hospital space, which was the issue. They wanted to make sure of that, which is a very real reason.
Nursing staffs, everybody, they were all being redirected to other areas and surgeries.
Waiting for this flood that was coming in. So we get there in June, and we get it done, and it was actually a pretty painless in that sense. I don't think we recall ever feeling in pain from
getting her in and out of the car, all that kind of stuff. Like way worse with the hips and surgeries and being, and she just bouncing the car, all that kind of stuff. you know, like did pretty well
Yeah, it was
moving
pretty,
about
it was
and
pretty
like,
simple. It
yeah,
was
you
in that regard,
you handled it well,
it
getting
was
her in the house, all that was well.
it was easy. The most uncomfortable thing are like the drains, and they would pull on the skin, and I had this
Oh
like
man.
really creepy feeling that they were going to be like ripped out. Like I was
Well,
just gonna.
we were under the impression. So my job was to drain
Mm.
the tubes every day, and so you had to unplug them, dump them out, measure, clean it, hook it back up. So I got like hand, eye, boob contact, and into these drains, and you think like the drain is only like that long, and if you mess with it, it's gonna pop out.
When
These
they
things
pulled
were
it
like,
out, it's like,
yeah, it was like this huge drain. Like seeing
yeah,
it, I didn't get to go see that, but I saw the picture of it, and that was something like, oh, I shouldn't have been worried at all. But
yeah. But
just
just like the
don't,
tug
yeah,
with the stitches, like gave me
you
the
could see,
EBGB
yeah,
feeling. Like
hooked.
it was like, don't touch
It
anything.
was like stitched to her skin. This tube of a, you know, it was
Yeah,
kind of grody.
yeah,
But I remember like day 2, you started to feel stuff, started getting uncomfortable a little bit. The first 2 days though, they numbed you up really well.
yeah,
Our kids were gone for like 3 days, so we just got to hang out. They stayed at grandma and
yeah,
grandpa's, and you know, it was exactly what we needed, them not running around and anxiety high, all this. She was really good.
yeah.
And I don't know, there was a day that we got to, sorry to
No,
kidnap your story, but a day where we got to like unwrap and like clean her up and get her all, you know, get her repositioned. And it was just like a big sigh of relief on her end of like, this is done. I'm home, you know, I'm recovering. She could feel like she was over the pain threshold, and we were on our way back, and, you know, slowly started ticking up on step counts and all that kind of good stuff and getting out.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
it's
you
probably,
feel like really not because of like this new added weight or this new pressure or anything like that, but you feel like protected because you're nervous about anything. So you just like kind of hunch around and shuffle.
you know,
And then like as you get more confident, you get more confident, and then you start like all the little activity things, which I probably didn't do nearly as
oh,
much
they
as
were
I should have.
little
But
basic things. Well, she had like arm circles and raises and stuff, but we would just do stuff like walking around our property. Like she'd just go out and stand in the sun for 10 minutes and
yeah,
come back. And then that turned into little walks. And then we went up the hill and, you know, slowly started getting her more active. Range of motion stuff started to come in
yeah,
of different actions, reaching overhead and different stretches and little things. And slowly, the big concern too was like, I don't think it was from blood clotting or anything, but it was just getting her heart rate to go too high, that kind of response would start to, you know, like you cut your finger and start breathing heavy, you can feel it like pulsing in your, well, this was going to be like pulsing through the injury of her chest.
yeah,
So we were worried about like stressing her in that point when she was cleared to, you know, be able to start to exercise and do more a little bit. So it started off with just mobility work and some body weight squats and
yeah.
just little things, hinges
Then
of
I
a band
couldn't
around
do
the hip.
anything on
And
the upper body, so it was like all lower
was it
body.
6
Like
weeks or
once
so?
you were
Is that
cleared,
right?
yeah,
Until you could do some upper body stuff.
yeah,
And then it was like orange band, quarter band, you know, little chest pulls and little curls, and just week after week, slowly getting there.
yeah,
And
getting better.
then not
Then
too
it's
long
like
ago,
the minute you get like going and you're feeling strong, you're feeling great, and you're like, I'm feeling back, I'm lifting weights again, I'm pushing weight.
she'd
Then
just
it's
done
like,
the pullover for the first time, and like was able to pull over and felt like okay. And then it was like a week before that when they had to pull you back for another surgery. I
oh,
mean, you just got back
yeah,
to like you
yeah. I'm
could.
sorry, I didn't know. I thought
No,
you
it's
were
okay.
going to
Like
like the pinch thing, and so
no,
I was
no,
like,
like she
that
could
was
just perform
yeah.
a pullover for the first time, and I don't know how long was it in between there. It was like
I don't know.
2
Well, then
3
we went
months.
to like a quick fat grafting thing,
Oh god, okay,
which is nothing.
okay.
And then in December I had so the second portion of it is the ovaries, right? And they don't want to take out your ovaries too young. So um, what they do is they take out your fallopian tubes because the research is now showing that the majority of ovarian cancer starts on the fallopian tube. So the cells mutate there, and then those mutated cells drop down onto the ovaries, attach themselves, and then grow there to create the ovarian cancer. So they remove your fallopian tubes now, and because I don't need them, I've already had our children.
Hmm.
And so then at 40 or later, when you're you know, closer to menopause or closer to, you know, your ovaries kind of starting to wind themselves down, they'll take them. So I had that at the end of December, and that's like was an easier surgery as far as like time frame goes, but still like another reset of take it all
Yeah.
back, stop
Back
everything
to can't do
again.
anything, barely move,
Not allowed to
stay
lift
in one
weights,
place.
can't pick
Yeah.
up the kids for
5
so many
pounds per
weeks,
week, that
and
kind of thing. Yeah.
all that. So it is and then now we're back going. Now where I feel like I can do almost everything. I did a pullover a while ago that was heavier, that kind of like pinched something. And that's a whole new thing, is like it's different. Like if somebody's just has an augmentation,
Yeah.
they have all of this tissue surrounding it, and they have they maybe put in the sheets underneath to lift or something like that. I have skin and implant, and that's it. And so it's really interesting. It's not a bad thing. I mean, when we always joke and say like, hey, for the rest of my life, included in our insurance are fresh, perky boobs at any size I want at any location. In case I need some fat transfers, there's liposuction included in there. So I mean, like, how is this, how is this a losing situation? So I mean, there's definite positives in that regard. But it is like, I don't feel them. There's no feeling. So like any ladies, like when you get the chills and like that shiver runs down and runs through your boobs, there is none of that. It just shivers behind it. So I don't get that shivering to like, I don't know guys to get that too, where like your nipples go, oh, it's cold. Or it's like it shivers.
We get a thing though when we pee every once in a while. It makes us shiver. I've ever felt a shiver in my nipples before.
No, like when you're cold and like you're like, oh, I just. Anyways, I don't have that anymore. But I'll be standing here next to Rob, and I'll just be like this, talking, and he'll be like, oh, hey, and I'm like, oh, I didn't even realize that I was touching you, because I have no feeling. So it's like, or like Brooke Payton will hug me in bed, and she'll be laying there, and she'll be like, what is that, Mom? What am I touching? And I don't feel her hand, so I'm like, I don't know. And I go this, and I go, oh, that's my boob, and she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, whatever, kid. It's just a bag of saline. Like, at this point.
Pretty much right now, the only thing we haven't attempted is a pull-up, which I'm not ready for you to attempt that yet, because there's so much force and pec lat activation there that could cause some damage. It's still relatively fresh,
and I feel like I had an up in the game, whereas you have worked with several. Yes, Mark, they do shiver.
There you go.
I feel like I had an edge up in this whole thing, because you have trained throughout the years. You had to go through extensive research for different clients that have gone through augmentation or even just reconstruction and all that. So it's like, like what to do, what not to do. And so it's been helpful.
18 clients. So you're number 19 that has had an augmentation or full mastectomy. So that was a whole new experience, to the point where I interviewed surgeons, so I knew more about the process and tried to learn on the back end of at what point should we be implementing certain movement patterns. And it was all, it's relatively simple thinking of, supinated grip under the chest for 6 weeks, once, given permission to return, overhead range of motion stuff, and then progressive to load. But really, like, the reason I went right to the pullover is that's kind of the last one prior to doing a pull-up or chin up, where you're like, if you can do for her, 25, 30 pound pullover, she's probably ready to do a chin up at that point. Like, that's about as much pec, serratus, lat stretch that you're going to get in pulling your body weight. So that's something to build up to and kind of work towards for her. But, if that's something that has to be sacrificed, because we've had plenty of women that I trained that went through augmentation that chin ups, pull ups just never felt right again. And that's okay. That's not, not a movement we necessarily have to have in the repertoire of programming. You have to do all the time. There's plenty of other stuff to do. But functionality wise, we've just now gotten, I think it was like the 9th or 10th. We're coming up on a year here of your first surgery, right?
June 17th.
June. That's right. The original date was April. But not even a year then, and you're almost 100%.
Yeah, I would say pretty close. I wouldn't.
90%.
I've been doing my even the bench, like when we have the fat bills and everything. I'm still using like the other day. Like that's, that's back and doesn't feel pressure or feel weird or anything like that. So I think that all of that is good. My legs are probably stronger than they were when I went in.
Oh, for sure. For sure. This girl could squat now, and RDL and bridge and everything else. All right, so let me play the interviewer now as we go through. Give me a few things that, if there are any women out there going through this or that are going to go through this, anything that you can think of that's like, hey, definitely remember to do this, or, beforehand, make sure you, like, I know the bra, you should talk about She Fit.
Yeah.
Yeah, talk about that. That was a game changer when you got those. That seemed to change everything. The
It
thing
is a
where it
game
clips in
changer.
the front
It's almost so
was,
much a game changer. I would take off my shirt right now and show you this game changer because it's it's really fantastic.
this is a PG show here.
Well, I'm not gonna take off my bra. I'll just take off the shirt and show you. It's
She Fit, is that what it's called?
She Fit. Yeah.
She
Okay.
Fit.
So the brand is She Fit, and anybody that knows anybody with boobs, really, but anybody with big boobs, anybody going through a surgery, anybody who finds that their chest it's odd sizing kind of thing, this is 100% the bra for you. And the key I find to it is that it's a put on bra that you zip up, but it has this adjustable waist where you have Velcro that you pull and you tighten this here, so that that is the key in all bras. Most people, to get off on a lady topic, most people wear the wrong size of bra because they don't buy it small enough here. And that's why it digs in here, because this is no longer holding the weight, this is holding the weight. And so it's digging in. So you have this girdle here that cinches down really tight. Then you have straps here that unhook and lift. So now you're pulling them up to where they need to be in a whole nother thing. And they have the whole lady's whole thing is that she doesn't want you to have a uniboob and all these kinds of things. But this elastic that you tighten here is absolutely key. It unzips so you can put it on after surgery. Have somebody help you put it on. It adjusts in that regards for
there was
swelling.
no chance of her getting her hands
well,
behind
you
her
can't.
back.
You're not
she can't do
allowed to
anything.
put.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to put your hands up
Yeah.
any past
And
here
they
at the
send
beginning.
you home in like a white meshy. It looks like a
it's cotton and
the suits that so you're locked up. The straight jackets. Like it looks like that. The way it's all like wrapped and zipped but making the switch to this, it was a day that she was like drastically more comfortable, and then progressing forward into exercise. These look like you're much more comfortable when you run and everything else.
It's and it's not that I went up in huge size but anyway, it's not like all of a sudden I went from being flat to having boobs. But the difference throughout surgery that you have to be aware of too is that my boobs no longer span from tissue from here to here. My tissue is here. So when you are experiencing a difference in distribution of that to where this bra and more support is comfortable and more needed, is because now it's here. It's no longer spread out through like a side boob and all the way out to there. So that I find these more comfortable for that, and that reason.
Anything you could tell somebody beforehand, like make sure you do this before the surgery? Is there
other than we always say get as strong as possible.
Yeah.
Get as strong as possible. That is always extremely helpful in that regard. Other than my mom had got a sweatshirt like this for me, and she sewed in huge pockets on the inside where you put your drains. Right. And that is like a life changer, cool. Because they say like put them on a lanyard, and then they're just like
it digs on your neck the whole time,
and they're just heavy, and it's like in the way, and then you're laying down. This was like boop, like each one went in its little pocket, and I just zipped up my jacket. And
what about the pillow thing too? Did that help?
The pillow thing I think was overrated.
Was it?
Yeah.
She like made her the ones
that kind of come under side. Yes. Those are helpful.
Yeah, the pillows under the armpit were huge.
They're
that was
shaped
a big
like
one for you.
Hearts or U's, and they go under here around the stitching, and that keeps your arms off, which is really helpful because you're swollen. But the one that goes across you for the seatbelt, I felt like that one was overrated. Gotcha. Everybody was like, have this pillow, but I think it's definitely overrated.
Yeah, we turned it into a pillow for the kids when they would.
Because they each had their own spot, like where your arm would be. Because the pillow would go doot, and then it went in for your arms and then across your chest. Yeah. So it would go like this. So they had like their headrests in it. Yeah, like dual thing.
All right. Day of surgery, coming home, anything that, support system,
I don't remember it.
You were doped, but you don't remember much?
Not a whole lot in that.
We basically got her in and took her straight to bed, propped her into positions, where she was comfortable.
I remember being in good spirits.
Yeah, we'd practiced like how we were going to put the pillows and how we were going to prop her up, because what was the girl's name that you follow it on Instagram. She kind of talked about the whole experience. I forget her name, the blonde girl. I can see her face, but I don't remember.
Yeah, I forget.
But Keeg did a bunch of research on it, and she was talking about like the positions. This girl was saying the positions that you need to sit in, like a 45-degree angle, and then having your knees propped so you're not laying so flat that there's pressure down, that you're not so upright, that your neck is tilted forward, that kind of a thing. Market's SheFit, yeah. And the lady that owns it, she's super fun. She's very energetic.
She is something else.
Yeah, she's something else.
I'm not gonna lie.
She was a Entrepreneur of the Year candidate or something. Like
She has got energy like you cannot imagine. Her whole thing is that there was this lacking in technology towards bras, and she wanted to fill the void. So she did, but I feel like she has the attitude and the persona and the look of like a fitness model. I would say that's the one that's very athletic, right?
Yeah,
like,
the brunette with the high hair and all that.
So so this is more of the fitness model, very much like, I don't want to say cheerleader because that's I'm not meaning that in that regard, but like bringing it up as
positions her body and everything too. Like she knows how
and
to
just super strong. I mean, she obviously works out like very, very strong, and
So anyway, back to the day is we practiced putting her in the right positions, basically making like a recliner bed, like a Sleep Number kind of a thing where you could like recline and have your feet up and down. So when we got home, went right to that. She was instantly
we knew all
comfortable
that because
there.
of experience with you and doing the reclining bed for him.
And this was the first time that the tables were turned here. Keeg had a knee surgery, but other than that, like basically it's been me the whole way. So we've had lots of experience. This was just a little more unique on my end, getting to be the caretaker rather than the caree. But that was a big one. And then the day that we got to like unwrap you and you got to just kind of go into like your little girdle or whatever it was and take off all the wraps, that was like a big day. I want to say
so that was for the second surgery.
3 or 4 days. Oh, that was the second one?
So that was
she was wrapped up so tight. Like you couldn't. This is
another struggle.
She couldn't like sit up straight, let alone like it was collapsing her chest, right?
Yeah, this is like that was the strap bra thing too. But then like the second surgery is the fat transfer, because I got them on top of the muscle which they did that for fitness, so I would be able to not be hindered by them in different movements. But it was and this is another thing I struggle with. Again, here I am, this holistic, natural person, wearing my Birkenstocks, like, all natural deodorant, and like this, never did I ever think that I would be somebody to have implants, let alone a person who has, liposuction. So then to fill in all the gaps, because they're on top of the muscle, they do lipo and they pull it from your stomach. So then you're wrapped in this like insane, like day and night for 2 weeks,
really tight.
During the day for another 2 weeks. And it's like, you're in this like suction thing to like make sure your skin readheres in this, which is completely foreign to me. Cause again, like liposuction is nowhere on my radar. It is now.
But it's
and I may go in for a yearly tune-up so I can continue pie.
I doubt it, but you won't. But it was part of this process to, you want to feel good and confident about, what you have. Like I think you're harder on yourself about that than you should be. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, post surgery, now we're at where we are. Like, is there anything else you can think of or any other advice kind of coming back? Like, hey, don't hurry and do this action too soon. Like the pullover was probably a little touchy.
But I feel like I didn't do their exercises enough.
Like the little arm.
Yeah, at the beginning, I felt like it took me a long time to get this stretched back out, that I feel like it should have been.
We should have been better about.
I should have been doing. I was not very good at that kind of small stuff. I just kind of like went about daily life, and I did their things, or sliding up the wall or whatever you do kind of thing, but not to the point where I felt like I probably should have done them more. It took me longer to get sometimes I would just lay on my back, and just the pressure of like my shoulders and the gravity being pulled back would stretch his chest, and I would be like, and then it would get to the point where my arms would be kind of out, down, and I would be like, I'm stretching, I'm not just laying here, and then it would then they'd come out to the side, and I'd be like, no, really, this is burning, I'm seriously stretching right now.
So we're in April, so we're at 10 months basically since you had your surgery, 9.5 months.
I mean, maybe I'm
And-
just an overachiever, but like I just felt like that.
Well, no, I mean, like you're at 9.5 months, you're
Mhm.
back and able and capable to do pretty much anything. I'm going to say 95% because
Yeah.
we're taking out heavy overhead pressing, over pull-ups, chin-ups. That's about it. Really heavy.
Which I wasn't good
pullovers.
at overhead pressing prior. So
But
let's
Pretty
just be
functional
honest
there. Yeah. And it wasn't like I was nowhere near over aggressively pushy or focused on like, you got to get into PT. We got to get you back. It was just, I was like, whenever you're ready, you know what I mean? We'd start doing stuff. So I think that it's realistic for someone to go through this whole process and say within 9 to 12 months, you're going to feel pretty normal and capable again. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would say so, probably.
Yeah. Because
I mean, if you do something,
you
right?
see there are folks on here
Because we
that are-
also know people that have gone through different surgeries that have come home and done nothing, and then there's no improvement. You're not
proactive,
back
though.
to where it is.
And when she says she wasn't doing her PT, here's the example. I had like 6 different exercises I was supposed to do 3 times a day for sets of 20 for my hips. Well, I did them like every hour. You know what I mean? It was just body weight stuff, little calf pumps, little things like that. So she kind of gets in her mind like she should have been constantly doing PT the whole time. It's a different experience. I had surgical pain in my hip. She had, pressure wrapped, stretch tearing pain to her chest. So to like sit there and be
I was
like,
always
every hour I
terrified.
should be doing all my PT stuff. I'm like, come on.
I was always terrified
did
that, and I
plenty.
still worry that like something's gonna pop them. Like I went for the massage yesterday,
And so we asked about this. Tell her what your doctor did in front of you to make sure.
well, I have a fabulous doctor. Dr. Kaplan is amazing.
She's pretty
So
awesome.
if you ever need this kind of surgery done, and
You're in our area.
you're in our area and you
Call
have
us up.
Kaiser, if you have Kaiser, Dr. Kaplan is awesome. But she took an implant out at the office, and I was like, I don't know, I'm really nervous. Like, kid's gonna like elbow me, it's gonna pop or something terrible, right? I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like,
Even though we see like UFC fighters and WWE wrestlers that all
still,
have
I
them, like,
always justify that by being like, "There's just probably under the muscle. They have an extra layer of tissue." Or if you have if they're augmented, that's another thing. Is when
Yeah,
they're
you have
augmented, you have tissue around
that's
it. Like
supporting, yeah.
you have your own breast tissue, your own fat, your mammary
Yeah, you
glands,
don't have
all
any
that
of that.
around that. I have nothing of that. I have skin and implants, so it makes me nervous. But she takes it out, puts it on the ground, takes her high heel, but not the pointy end, and just stands on it.
all of her body
Full
weight
pressure, stands on
stands
it.
on it.
And she's like, "I think you're going to be just fine." And I was
Yeah.
like, I don't know. I mean, that's
There
a good
was
trick.
there
but
were stories that we heard in the past. Like we had one lady that closed her boob in the car door.
And that's
Yeah,
what Dr.
and it,
Kaplan
like,
says is like
punctured
the
and-
main thing. It's like
Yeah.
car door. And I'm like, number one, how do you close your boob in the car door? But I guess it happens.
I don't have any appendage long enough to get caught in the car door.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, there were some stories that it was like, wow, that could happen, but
Yeah.
it was, I think of like, I can't even name any of the girls, but there's a UFC fighter. She's had him for a couple of years now and gets kicked and punched and all that, and she's just
Yeah.
fine.
But I think that, like, that
has
extra
muscular
tissue,
materials,
yeah.
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 I don't know of any athletes that have had,
A full
yeah,
like a mastectomy or
yeah,
something,
yeah.
just has skin and
Yeah.
implant. It's
Yeah.
really interesting. I don't know. It's like, I don't know if it's interesting to everybody else that's watching it, but it's interesting
Well,
to
that's
my.
the point of this is to dive into this stuff a little deeper, and you've been more than, it's not like hey, come on here. She's been, very outspoken
yeah,
about it
I
on
don't, I have-
Instagram and talking with
Yeah.
other people that we're going to go through the same experience, that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. Like this is how we see other individuals on here right now that are going through something very similar
Yeah.
and that are finding benefit in this. And it's worth it
Yeah.
for us to sit here and talk for a half hour if
Yeah.
it helps one of you.
Sure.
So yeah, I
Sure,
think it's
sure.
great to share those experiences, and you see a picture of her on surgery day, you see a picture of her 2 weeks later, then 6 months goes by and you're like, oh, Keegan's back working out. Like you don't get to see the day to day and all the bad times and the good times
Yeah.
and the miserable. I want to just be able to shower by myself and not have to have you in here cleaning me, that kind of stuff. Like you get to all these little steps of success, and it's nice to hear those experiences and know what to expect.
Yeah.
When you're coming through, like coming back from my lung and all that, Key would shower and had to do everything for me.
Yeah.
And finally I was able to a point where I could like walk on my own and put my arms over my head. But even, cleaning the backside of my body or the back of my head, I couldn't get my arms
Yeah.
to there for 3 or 4 months. I mean, you had
Dry
to help me a long
shampoo.
time. Yeah, that's
Dry
true. And what was the thing we
shampoo.
got? Yeah. Is that what we got for your
Yes,
hair?
yes.
Yeah. It was like,
It's the Dry Bar brand of detox. I don't know.
It was like foam that I would spray and like rub into her head.
Okay,
and then
Rob,
it looked great all
Rob,
of a sudden.
I would say Rob,
No hair experience. I
Rob
have zero hair
applying
experience.
dry shampoo
I was
is
like-
not so great.
I
Amanda,
had
Rob's
no idea.
sister, applying dry. I was like friggin' locks of gold
If
after
you
she
needed me
did
to
it.
rub it on your face, I would have had more
Yeah,
experience.
it was yeah. It was
Amanda
like
a much
she was
more
like
hair nurturing.
And this is how Rob does it. This is the dry shampoo, bro.
Yeah, I got it in her face.
Like so close. I was like, oh, what's happening? It's terrible. It's terrible.
I was trying.
Brush my teeth, and I was like, my arms don't work. He's very kind.
I'm worried about you, buddy.
I know.
I'm worried about you.
Yes, you're.
Now you're back, strong like bull.
Yes, now I can brush my own teeth.
Yes, thank
I
God.
went to the dentist today.
Clean bill of tooth health. She's
Probably
all
the best,
good.
the
I'm
best
nervous. I'm
checkoff
going.
I've ever had.
She never flosses. Out in her on the internet here.
I flossed for
I
the
floss
last 4
twice
days.
a day. I'm gonna go in there on Monday and they're gonna be like, "You have 9 cavities." We're gonna have to pull 2 of them. All right, team. Any photos? Any questions coming in while we come on here? Candace just messaged me the other day, and so glad we brought some good
laughter.
energy and love and laughter to you. We're thinking about you, and you need anything from us, you got our number, okay? So don't be afraid to reach out. And Mark, it's always good to hear from you, buddy.
I know.
I appreciate it. Arnar, can you please start again from the beginning?
Yeah, you
no,
bet,
bud.
Arnar.
No.
I'm all over it for you.
Yeah, you're funny. We'll share this up on the site here as soon as we get done, so you can rewatch it. But good to hear or to have you on here from Iceland. I'm ready to come back. By the way, if you ever
I'm
want
ready
me,
for a vacation.
that would be cool. You bring her, and that could be my payment for coming to speak. That
There
would
we
be
go.
fun. Anyway, we love you guys. We hope all is well at your end. If there's anything that we can do for you moving forward, let us know. We'll be back in a couple of weeks. We'll talk about, let's see, we did my hips, right? We didn't talk about my back surgery. I guess we could do that one. Or we could talk about my multiple wrist surgeries or all my other surgeries. We'll talk about
Lungs,
one. Anyway,
brain.
yeah, the brain one. That was a big one. Still didn't work. All right. We love you guys. Have a good one. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.